Okay, so hello, my name is Tony Alves, Director of Product Management at ARL Systems. I've been working in peer review since 1991 when I designed a tracking system using FileMaker Pro while serving as an assistant managing editor for the American Heart Association's journal Circulation Research. My talk today focuses on the great idea of industry-wide standards and how ARIES has responded to the many standards that have been handed down from above. So let's talk. Systems need to talk to each other. We all have lots of systems that need to communicate. Interoperability is essential in promoting communication. It's a great idea that many of us have decided to talk in a common tongue known as JATS, which stands for Journal Article Tag Suite. We talk to many other systems using JATS XML as the common language and encourage all of our partners and customers to utilize this common data format, whether it's via an API or any other method of data and file exchange. When we all use JATS, implementation of third-party services become easier and maintenance of those services become more cost-effective. Did it stop its advancement? No. So another great idea, Orchid. Orchid is the most important initiative of the past several years. It will solve the biggest problem that exists when systems are talking to each other. And what is that problem? Mixing up people or exposing a person's personal data. So 70% of ORCIDs are coming through systems integrations like Editorial Manager. Getting on board early is essential, and that's what we did. Sometimes we get on board too early. For example, we initially allowed the typing of ORCIDs because the Orchid API wasn't ready, but we quickly changed that, and now users fetch their Orchid via an API interaction, which limits bad Orchid data. One of the big challenges with Orchid is getting researchers to adopt it. So Orchid needs to show researchers it has practical value, and one of the single sign-on is something that does that, and we have integrated the single sign-on process into our system. We are now embarking on integrating peer review data into Orchid, and Alice will talk about that. I don't know what it will look like yet, but that's an example of adding practical value that will hopefully increase the Orchid uptake. Many vendors are getting on board, but everyone needs to get on board. So how can you all help solve this problem? Well, journals should require Orchid, membership databases should integrate Orchid, conference submission services should integrate Orchid, all grant requests should require Orchid, conflict of interest systems should require Orchid, universities and research centers and publishers should assist authors in claiming publications. So that's all important. Standards are really important when it comes to dealing with money. Funders want to be sure the money they are handing out is well spent. Researchers and institutions need to show the money they've received has impact. Publishers are asked to keep track of all of this. For example, the Office of Science and Technology Policy want to be sure taxpayers are getting value for money. Many of you may not necessarily agree with the policy, but it's representative of the policies that are being put forward by many funding agencies. So I'm sure you all know where I'm going with this. Another great idea is FundRef. FundRef, there's $1.6 trillion that needs to be tracked. FundRef is, of course, a standardized list of funder names. The manuscripts are tagged with funder IDs, and then it flows through the process and gets eventually deposited into Crossref. Here is the EM implementation of FundRef. We keep the FundRef data on our servers, and it is updated monthly. There is an autocomplete tool to help the author select the granting organization. We capture the grant number, and we ask the author to identify which contributor received the grant, and we then pass this data along with the FundRef ID up and down the food chain. Of course, the first implementation is always only a first step. Here you can see that selecting a funder is not always a straightforward choice. And so in conversation with Crossref, we improved our user interface to guide the author so that they can select the right funder in the hierarchy of funders. So here you can see when someone selects the Department of Health and Human Services, because there are lower level organizations, we then give them an opportunity to identify another funder at a lower level. We've talked about people disambiguation in Orchid and following the money trail with FundRef. What connects people and money? the institutions that employ those people and manage the funds. Standards are important when talking about institutions because there are so many ways to identify an institution, and authors like to take shortcuts when they are entering data in any system. So the collaboration between ISNI and Ringgold is very exciting because it helps complete what my boss Lyndon Holmes called in a presentation earlier this week, the virtuous ID cycle. I don't have time to read all of that entire cycle, so I'll continue on. Similar to the FundRef implementation, we have integrated the Ringgold database into both the registration process and the submission process. In addition, we are participating in the alpha testing of the new Ringgold data structure. This gives us the opportunity to see how we might evolve our implementation and give Ringgold feedback on what they've done. Another great idea, credit. Looking at the future, there is another standard that has yet to be widely adopted, but it is clearly something that people have been clamoring for: contributor role taxonomy, a way to identify who had what role in the research that's being reported on. Anticipating this, we are building this new taxonomy into our submission system. It is integrated into the co-author information step. There are currently 14 terms in this new taxonomy, but we're designing it in such a way that we can add new terms if necessary, and also being ready for other innovations in that taxonomy. So, in summary, be aware of the new standards that are proposed and are in process. Get friendly with the organizations that are working on those standards. Discuss implementation ideas early on with those organizations to help them understand limits, behavior, opportunity, et cetera, of the people who are affected by these standards, and start planning early with colleagues so everyone is on board. Thank you.